Okay, so Stars Reach. What were your main takeaways from our first playthrough, my love?
Um, I am very much looking forward to when there's more to do. Um, well, like I mean, obviously everybody wants that, but like I
There's,
really want to play like I love that there's like the demo and stuff happening right now and whatever and like that we get to be part of it, but I really uh I'm excited for there to be more to do because right now it's like just kind of like exploring, like building, and I'm not huge into building. I'm more of like collecting, crafting, sort of a thing. So like for me, the gameplay loop isn't really there yet.
yeah,
But
I mean
for
it's
it
still
being a,
pre-alpha, right?
I was
So
gonna say,
I,
but for it being a pre-alpha, like it's great what they have already.
so when you think about what you did experience, what were your thoughts?
Um, I really like how what's the proper term? I believe like everybody I don't even know if this will be the proper term for it. Everybody has so much agency. Everything that you do affects the world. Like if you take your like one of your tools and like you
Hmm.
know dig out a pit,
Hmm.
everyone else around you there's going to be a pit for them now as well.
Hmm.
Like if you go and dig out the side of a mountain, well now that mountain has a hole dug out of the side of it for everybody.
Yeah.
Like what you do matters.
Yeah, I agree. That's really cool. And seeing it does lead to a bit of an issue where like there's a lot of places in the world that are kind of strangely deformed, and you're like, wow, this just doesn't look very nice, doesn't feel very nice to walk over. But I think that there's a good trade-off there. How did you feel about the aesthetics? Because I know that you were excited about those, and now having been in the game, how did you feel about them? Pros, cons, all that stuff.
So far, like it's right like up my alley. It has a mix of like I don't want to say realism because it's um excuse me, but like it has like a mix of like water looking like real water and stuff and like the moon looks like a real moon and but then also there's like these sparkly drippy looking willow trees that are like neon pink and purple. So like it has like a good mix of things looking real but also being like fantastical. And that is something that's very exciting. Also like I know there's going to be like a bunch of weather and like seasons. So
Hmm.
like the snow and the ice like you actually slide on it and stuff and like it just there was that one I don't know if it was like a specific planet or something that we
Hmm.
went to but
Hmm.
it was like everything kind of had like a red cast over it or like a reddy
Zaraxa,
orange
I think it's called. Yeah.
is kind of like a reddy orange like haze and like
Hmm.
it like evokes like different types of like oh you felt like this is kind of more like a dangerous area or like
Hmm.
it was like more of like a hardened area. I don't know how else to
Hmm.
describe it, but then like when you go to the one where it's like all green and lush and everything you're like oh this is like just like a nice breezy like it actually like
Hmm.
had different like it made you like feel different,
I,
lack of a better
no, I agree. I agree on both counts. The aesthetic is usually not. It's not something I would usually be really into. It's a bit more cartoony than I would usually appreciate.
hmm hmm hmm
Leans a bit more towards WoW than like I don't know Eve or something like that, right? But it's a believable fantasy, right? They've done a really good job of that, and I think you're also correct that they've done a really good job so far of giving each of the sort of starter worlds that I gather that these starter worlds are a mixture of procedural and handcrafted, even though most of the worlds going forward will be like 99 plus percent uh, um, procedurally generated. So they've done that's why I say they've done a really good job rather than the algorithm is good, which it
Hmm.
would still be a good job that they've done because they created the algorithm. However, I think they've done a really good job for these curated planets that of showing us different feelings. And that's remind me about that later because when we talk about the patch notes, there's something very interesting about that in there as well.
I also really liked the how the wildlife behaves, how it's like going into that one area and there were like a I don't know what the product is, not herd. There's like a herd of bunnies and like it shows like how they're feeling, like they were like all scared and like running away and then they were like exhausted and then then I was just standing there like some of them calmed down but then like anytime I would move they would get scared and like skitter away again. Like that is really cool, like how it's showing how they are feeling
That whole
toward your
system,
presence.
I don't know how much they have implemented, but I feel like even already it's far more dynamic than people give it credit for. And I feel like it's going to be far more dynamic than people will be kind of ready for, if that makes sense. Because you're right, like it was showing you that those animals are operating on an AI. Like they're constantly testing, how do I feel about that thing over there, that thing being you, right?
Which goes back to what I said earlier about you matter.
Right, exactly.
Your mere
This is what
presence
I'm saying.
matters
Right.
to those
Right.
NPCs.
And this is where I have, and this is we're getting a bit deep dive here, but I have a concern slash issue with Gunk, for instance, right? The Galactic Union for
Oh,
Natural
that
Conservation.
big like
It
guild.
sounds like
Yeah.
they're having a lot of fun. They have some really cool ideas, and but my concern is this: if you are setting out to collect a specimen of all species, you are setting out to interfere with every species in the galaxy.
Yep.
And that's a problem for me because your interference might eliminate that species or somehow hurt it.
Mm.
And so, whilst I love what they're doing, I think my personal feeling is like if you see a plant or animal you've not seen before, leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Let it do its thing. If you see it eating some plants in an area and then it goes off to eat some of those plants in another area because it's eaten all of the plants in this first area, then go into that first area and plant more of those plants to
Yeah.
help them to grow.
I get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But don't go and try to collect a specimen from them. That's not your right to collect one. That's a very egotistical human sort of, you know what I mean, empirical
I
thing.
I'm like I one thing like I don't know, I hope maybe it changes or maybe it's different, just I didn't wait long enough, but I stood in the area where all those bunnies were probably for a good 5 to 7 minutes, not moving, just standing there because I was like, maybe they'll get used to me being here and then they'll like come towards me. Like maybe their attitude towards me will change. And it didn't. And I don't know if that's maybe something that will change, if it's just they are always going to react like that,
That's
or like
something I want to look into. I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking the exact same thing.
'cause I was like, I want to be friend. I want them to know I am not a danger. So I was like, I'm just gonna stand here and do nothing and be still, and maybe they'll get used to me being here, and then I'll be able to like walk around with them nearby. But
Yeah.
I waited, like I said, 5 to 7 minutes, and like they still skittered off as soon as I moved. So I don't know if that's something that maybe will change or if that's something that it's never going to change. It's always going to be like that. But I I really wanted to be friends with the buns. Yeah, like I was thinking how cool it would be if like not necessarily like bunnies, but just because that's the
Yeah, yeah,
first thing that
yeah.
I saw. So let's say it was the bunnies or whatever.
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
it's like you watch them and like follow them around for a bit and then you figure out, oh, they like eating this and they like gathering around this type of a bush,
Mhm.
if you planted a bunch of those, if you got them to migrate more
Mhm.
towards like your camp,
Mhm.
could you basically create like a population of them that now live near you? Like
I think
that would be so
so.
cool.
I think you can do that already.
Like so
You can
rad.
absolutely do that right now. I believe with the mechanics in game, you can currently do that, which is really, really cool. Like, I'm stupid excited about that.
Um the movement abilities, like you could travel very quickly just with grappling hook, jumping, climbing. Like it was
Hmm.
almost like there was no part of the world that was unreachable.
Uh huh. Uh huh. That was really
Uh
cool. I agree.
that was a really standout thing. Like it was, like if you wanted to, oh, I want to get up there and check that out. Okay, well you can climb. Oh, I need to
Hmm.
get over this crevice. Like, oh, okay, I use my grappling hook. Like
Hmm.
it was very open to movement. That was one thing that really stood out. Another thing was, I believe you said it was intentionally like sped up the day night cycle,
I
or
believe they at least seasons are. I believe the day night cycle is as well because it's probably tied to it all. It's all the
so
same.
like I found myself looking up at like the moon
Mm.
often because it looked so pretty.
Hmm.
Like the environment, like the trees, like those
Hmm.
glowing pink and purple willow looking trees, and
Mm.
um that those like so that stood out to me because it's pretty and I the cute and I like that. Oh, oh, also one of the main things that super stood out were like the like catastrophe events. Like, oh, there's a
Yeah.
meteor shower incoming, and like you could just die.
Yeah, if you're
And
not
like, oh,
careful.
I'm like, oh, a meteor landed in front of me, and it's like set these trees on fire,
Hmm.
and like it had consequences, and like that crazy thing that happened to you that we got
Yeah, that crater
on
impact.
like just bananas. It drained the lake. Like you watched that happen in real time.
I was freaking out. Oh
Like
my
it
god, it
just
drained the lake.
just so cool.
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, so like that I didn't even like open any crafting UI. Like I didn't
Mm.
go to any of the crafting tables. All I did literally was like run around and use like my couple like tools
Hmm.
that I had. Um like the survey tool and like the harvester and stuff. I didn't open anything else, but like that's off topic because you said what stood out. So
No, no,
those are like
no,
the
that's
three things
perfectly
that
fine.
stood out.
No, 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 that's perfectly on topic. What? How did you feel about the combat?
I like that it's not tab targeting because then it doesn't it feels like it's more difficult. Uh
I feel like it's more rewarding though.
but I also like with those like laser, and because like the flying things like they're buzzing around and everything, like I find like just me personally, like I have a harder time like aiming when stuff is
Mm.
erratic and like
Hmm. Hmm.
moving quickly and stuff, so I had a harder time hitting it with like the pew pew.
We only had the. Sorry to interject. You and I only had the Omni Blaster. There are other
Yeah.
weapons. There's even a healing thing that does like AOE healing. So there's I believe there's a weapon that's more AOE that might help with that. But I do absolutely understand your point.
But yeah, like I do like how it wasn't tab targeting, even though it made it more difficult. Um, there's also those like world I don't know, the world bosses or
Yeah, they
whatever,
are
but
100%.
um, those things that happened that showed up. And I don't think we completed any of them
No, they were all way too
because
hard.
they were way too hard. Like, and like I know we died a bunch of times, but I think only like a couple of times there were more than like 5 people.
I think part of that is because um, our playtest was on the wipe night, so
So a lot
more
of people
people
maybe
were
weren't
in
playing.
their builds with their friends,
Mm,
enjoying the last night of having that build.
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So there was a lot. People weren't really out in the world as much. I mean, there was a few. I would say there was probably, I don't know, a couple dozen people that were out and about, but almost that I saw out and about, but almost never were they grouped up in more than ones or twos, you know.
Yeah.
um, Patch notes. Let me get through the patch notes because I think unless there's anything else you wanted to add about the game and our first experience with it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know how much more I'm going to be able to comment on patch notes because I've only done that one playtest night so far because we just got in.
I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to I'm going to sort of scan them for you and tell you the big things.
Mhm.
Um, So, some big things is, and this may not seem like a big deal, but this goes back to, remember how you were saying Zaraxa looked very different from Gaiamar, looked different, very different from Escobar, or Esca. I don't remember what the frozen one is. Not only do
Yeah.
they look different, they're actually made up of different things. So I don't know if I'll find it in here.
Well, you'd think like if you want this type of mineral, you
Yes.
can only find it such and such place or whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, so keep that in mind while I read these because a lot of these changes have to do with the geography of planet, well,
Mhm.
not the geography, but the geophysics of the sim, which is the game, what they call the game. It's the sim, right? That's the what's running underneath. That's what we're experiencing when we log into the game.
Mhm.
We're experiencing this sim running the planets that we're on, and then when we do something to it, it influences the sim.
Mhm.
And sim obviously short for simulation. Okay, so adhesion changes. Some resources hang together well, like gems and metals, while other materials are brittle and tend to fall apart, like shale, dirt, or pumice. What that means in game is that when you're creating an underground cavern, some of those caverns are a lot more likely to cave in if you excavate too large of an area without buttressing it somehow. Note, you typically don't have to buttress too much if you're making a long, narrow tunnel. If the tunnel isn't wide, then the natural adhesion of the materials is unlikely to collapse unless it's a particularly unstable material like dirt or mud. Perhaps sand as well, I would imagine. You'll notice the adhesion changes a lot more when you start to go wide, quote unquote, with an area, like when you intentionally make a cavern for building, or if you're mining out a really large mineral vein. So, um, I think that's really cool. And
Mhm.
I thought it was already in the game,
But it's not obviously.
but I think they're changing it,
Well, that could be it. Like it's
right?
in, but they're just kind of it behaves differently.
Right. So they're saying the various density as the next paragraph is basically says the various densities of resources in our worlds are now balanced to be more real life. Like real life, heavy stuff tends to sink and lighter stuff rises to the surface. Some things have different densities while molten than they do when solid. We've always
Mhm.
had this feature, but everything was set to basically heavy or light, so we had some really odd sorting. Now the resources in game have all been set to different densities and you may see different behaviors.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. 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 Cool.
Right? So now when mud and stuff are next to each other and you're mining through them, they're going to be a lot more dynamic. And how
Mhm.
you find them as you go through the world is going to be a lot more natural, which I think is exciting.
Yep. Yep. I do like that. That's neat. Especially when like that thing happened where we saw like the lake draining or whatever, how like the different materials that were like at the bottom of the lake, like they formed different types of like piles and
Hmm.
stuff. And you were when you were collecting, you it was like moss, peat moss, clay, dark clay, light clay, diamond, agate. Like it was you were collecting like so many different things.
Yeah, there was tons of different stuff at the bottom of that lake. The diamond was only from where the meteorite hit, which I've had confirmed by the developers that the diamonds were
Is it what we
actually
said?
um uh uh yes and no. Like the process of it melting everything and deforming and all of that, exactly as we said. I I did not understand though that they also embed materials into the meteorite.
Ah, okay.
The way that they see these meteorites from a dev team perspective
Mhm.
is highly customizable content delivery. I think I quoted that correctly. Let me find the actual quote because I was like, "Oh, that's really really cool." It kind of blew my mind. Ah, here. So this is a direct quote from one of the devs. Meteors are highly adaptable content delivery mechanisms. They could literally bring anything. We're making lists.
Okay, very neat.
Right?
Love
So I
that.
think the diamonds may have been present in the meteorite.
And the meteorite.
Right,
Yep.
right. And then some other stuff was formed as well, but the diamonds I think themselves were not formed there. I think they were brought in by the meteorite, which is
Okay.
just like
Regardless, that's still really cool.
yeah, yeah, really, really neat idea. I love from a design perspective how they're thinking about that. Like that's so good. Because of these changes, the current roster of planets has been re-exported with the adhesion and density changes. Some of the large caverns in these worlds now have pillars added to prevent them from totally collapsing, and these features are being added in the Proc Gen system automatically for future world rollouts, which will start happening real soon. There are many places now soil and rock falls have made the caverns much more organic to explore. So like we were talking about, naturally now you're going to find more pockets of dirt and sand and things like that, soil,
Mhm.
mud where things have collapsed because they just don't have the adhesion and the support to be where they are anymore, even though that's where they are in the density sort of table. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, 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 yep.
Some XP changes. So you're going to get XP faster, I think. Yeah, you should notice that you gain XP a lot faster than you did previously in many ways. Um, However, skill node costs were also increased significantly to compensate, and they're going to keep changing it because this is just a first pass.
Mhm.
Um, they've made changes to mining resource rates. I'm just going to sort of recap this for you. Hardness does still have an impact because you can mine slate way faster than you can mine diamond. So diamond is slower to acquire. However, if you mine the same volume of diamond as you do slate, which would probably take you, X number of times longer to get the diamond than it would the slate. However, you'll
Mhm.
end up with approximately the same amount of resources from those areas of mining.
Mm.
So while the hardness has changed how long it takes to mine things, how effective the tool is not changing based on what you're hitting, essentially.
Yeah.
That's the way I read that.
Yeah, that makes sense. If that's yeah, that's probably what it mean what they mean.
Yeah. Here's the thing that here's the second thing I got really excited about, and the thing that I think you're going to get the most excited about, and I would expect that Mystic and Anodyne are going to be really excited about this. In preparation for artisan crafting, the plumbing for resource stats was enhanced greatly. There are now 4 stats on every resource you can gain. P is for potential, ability to deliver, preserve, or supply energy, the conductivity of a metal, energy produced by a fuel, or calories in an edible, etc.
Oh.
Q is for quality, a general metric of resource fitness. I love these people are smart and I like it. Uh, Resilience. R is for resilience, the ability for the resource to bounce back, withstand damage, or possibly how elastic it is. Versatility, the substance's ability to change or cause change, such as the malleability and workability of solids, reactivity, and the degree to which liquids can be used as solvents or emulsifiers, and the reactivity of gases.
Jeez. It's
And
just
if
bananas.
you just deep dive on those, what they're telling us we're going to be able to do and how we're going to be able to interact with these materials is bonkers.
Yeah, it's almost like to be honest, it's a little bit overwhelming that there's so much.
I do not ever expect to be able to um, uh, excel at using any of these things at any time. I expect to see other people do really crazy stuff with this. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of
Yeah,
less
like
here for what I'm going to be doing with it and more here for like what can like the fact that people are making geothermal pumps in this game already.
it's like the whole thing like with Minecraft, like the things people have come up with to make in Minecraft, like it's
Mhm.
blows my mind.
Yeah, exactly. So let me just finish this resource stats. These are not hard and fast descriptions, but they're a general way to determine which areas of the resource are high, medium, low, or variable stats when plugging in data. In general, we try to make the stats resemble real-world properties, but since every resource has a high, medium, low, or variable stat, and because sometimes that doesn't match up perfectly with real life, we opted on gamification instead in some cases. For example, pumice has a poor resilience and uranium has a high potential, but there may be other stats that don't match up exactly. Additionally, the stat categories are variable. For example, gold will always have a high quality stat on all worlds, but gold on Zaraxa may have a higher quality stat than gold on Ascarian.
So gold's always going to be valuable, but it could be more valuable depending on where you've
It would
gathered
be
it.
more pure depending on where you,
Yeah.
because different worlds have different geological
Yeah.
makeups and they
Yeah.
produce different types of ores. This will come into play and be much more important when the artisan crafting game is rolled out in the next update, and end product stats will actually matter. Enterprising players may start thinking now about what resources to use in order to maximize their stats later on. Now that crafting is a dedicated trade and not all players have to craft any longer, we need a secure trade system so that crafters can ask for things as compensation for their time. You can now stand near someone, put your cursor on them, and hit G to interact. A menu will pop up giving you the gift or trade options. The new secure trade feature is the trade option. So you can exchange up to 5 inventory slots, and it's a
Items. Yeah.
yeah, and it's there's going to be player mission boards and stuff that are going to be coming soon as well. They say,
Nice.
which
Nice.
is
Nice. Nice.
really exciting. Um, they've overhauled all the skill trees. So previously they had combat, botany, mineralogy, ranger, farming, forestry, and civil engineering. Okay,
And what were those?
combat, bot.
No, but what are
These are
these?
the skill trees that were in the game
Oh, currently.
currently. So there was
Yeah. Okay.
combat,
Okay. Yep.
botany, mineralogy, ranger, farming, forestry, and civil engineering.
Okay.
They are now adding, or have added rather,
Exciting.
uh cooking,
Fun.
artisan crafting,
Okay.
refining,
Nice.
architect,
Oh.
tool maker, weaponsmithing, and
Oh. Sorry.
no,
And
that's
what?
okay. Weaponsmithing, and they've redone civil engineering.
Okay, so that's interesting that they've made tools and weapons different.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
to you, so you could be a tool crafter, but you can't make weapons. I like how it's not all bunched into one.
Right.
I like
Exactly.
that. And I also love how there's like it's not just like herbalism. There's like minerals and botany and forestry. Like it's not
Mm-hmm,
just all
mm-hmm.
lumped into like herbalism. That's like
Yeah.
really, really, really cool. Like they've got like the
Yeah. And
niche
each
thing.
of those
My
have
thing,
like subclasses too. Go ahead, sorry.
I wonder if you're going to be able to do all of them, or if it's going to be
No.
like WoW where you can only
Yeah,
choose.
you're going to have a skill cap, so you're not going to be able to do them all.
Oh, that's going to be
However,
hard for me.
however, however, what they have said they're going to do is have it basically so that, let's say you can max four of them, right?
Okay.
So it'll be like you can max four of them, or you can like spread your shit around, and if you don't go too deep, maybe you can get into 12 of them, or
Yeah, like if
whatever.
you're
You
not
know
going
what
to
I
like
mean?
master all of them, you could
Right.
have like a little bit and yeah,
Right.
okay.
So that's
Okay.
up to you. However, just for the sake of argument, let's say
Yeah.
you can master four of them,
Yeah.
right? Let's say there's another one that you want to master. You drop one of the four that you've already mastered,
Mhm.
and you start mastering the other one.
Mhm.
Once you've mastered that other one, let's say you want the first one back. That's okay. You just switch it because what you
And they're
actually
skill
have,
leveled.
yes, and what you actually have, you don't have a cap of four that you can maximize. You have a cap of four that can be active.
Okay, so like you can learn to master all of them and only have certain ones activated.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So I wonder if they're going to do a thing where like you can only change them once a day, or if it costs a resource to change,
Yeah, I don't
or if it's going to
know.
be willy-nilly.
I don't know. I would think, I mean, based on modern gaming monetization practices, I would guess that that's an item that you can purchase or get in game, but it's extremely rare. Do you know what I mean?
That's another thing I was going to say. Have they talked about a currency and like an in-game shop at all?
I don't believe so. However, the secure trade, this is a precursor feature requirement for the player mission boards. I expect that's not what I thought it said something. Um, I expect that secure trade, like you need to be able to trade before you can have currency. It's kind of like PAX. Like if you think about their development cycle,
Yep.
the the ability to trade came well before currency,
Yes.
right? So I think they're just, they're doing it in order.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so, but I haven't heard anything about it. I also have not gone backwards. I found out about this 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and I've not really gone backwards too much in time to listen to the devlogs and stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to eventually because I'm like that. But yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple of these skill tree. Uh, they have they go into each of them really quickly. Right? So,
Okay. Yeah.
for instance, botany. You unlock the forestry and farming skill trees through this tree, and you can also increase your harvesting yield this way. You can earn botany XP by
Oh, neat.
harvesting bushes, flowers, but also by discovering them in the first place. You can also discover tree types as well. Farming, you unlock the skill tree. You gain the ability to plant bush and flower seeds with a harvester. Currently, you can only earn farming XP by planting bushes and flowers, but more, you know,
Yeah.
to come. What did I want to read you was the cooking you seemed interested in.
No, I was just like saying like,
Mm.
ooh, good, that's coming. To be
Oh,
honest,
tool making
past
and weaponsmith.
what?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, okay, okay. No, 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 nothing. Go ahead, please.
So tool making, this is the skill tree that lets you build all the tools, whether that's crafting stations, building. That seems like a typo. Whether it's crafting stations, building, harvesting, or ranger tools. Yeah, okay, building, harvesting, or ranger tools, or even the grapple and grav mesh. This is the kind of crafter you need to make those things. You gain the ability to use the drone lights recipe automatically when you unlock it. Weaponsmith encompasses the recipes for all weapons, shields, and also the power battery consumable that can restore energy to your devices during combat. And you can craft the Omni Blaster when you open that up. So that's what they're. I wanted to read those two because you're
Yeah,
interested in the distinction.
very cool.
Yeah. There's a bunch more stuff. There's like a bunch of miscellaneous fixes and bug fixes and stuff. So, but I'm not going to go through all of those. I'm sure people can sort of find them on their own
Yeah.
uh, if they really want to. So yeah. Anyways, that's I'm really excited about what's coming up. Um, yeah.
I'm uh very hopeful for this game because I think it's got it seems like they're going down the path of making something really unique and although there are like a bunch of MMOs out there, none seem to be really doing what they're wanting and trying to do. So
Mm,
I'm very hopeful.
I agree. I agree. It's a very exciting project, and I really like the way that the dev team is working on it.
So far, they've
Yeah.
seemed to have been really transparent about things that they're doing as well, which is
hmm
nice.
hmm They opened up a merch store too, and the merch is actually really cool. All merch ever is more pricey than anyone would ever like, but it's neat merch, and it doesn't seem to be
Predatory, like,
not super predatory. It's like I think it was like 40. Oh, I'm not gonna. You know what? Don't quote me, but go. Yeah, we can look on their website and find out. It's actually quite neat. Actually, maybe I'll do that real quick. But they're calling it the Galactic Bodega. That's
oh
hilarious.
my gosh,
So yeah, a hat is 28 bucks.
that's not
Yeah, it's
bad.
not bad. Notebook for 21. Infinite. There's a clear plastic tumbler for 20. Uh, crew neck sweater 55. Oh, there's a sling pack. Mm.
That's honestly like not bad at all. Those prices are
Yeah,
not.
no, they're not bad. And I think these are American. I think these are US dollars, but even still.
Mm.
32 bucks for a fanny pack, 30 bucks for a t-shirt is, but honestly like um um for a decent quality uh what, like unique shirt, small they're a small company, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they don't have access to massive factories that can pump this stuff out. So, I mean, I'm sure they're getting it from somebody who does, but like still,
no, I know what you mean.
I think Star Citizen charged me something like $55 for a hat. You know what I mean? American. Like, I think it was
Yeah,
easily
and
twice
stuff.
as much for the Star Citizen hat. So I'm not mad at this. And the stuff looks really, really cool. Like, it's really neat looking. I really appreciate it. So,
Neat.
anyways, yeah, I
I
agree.
like it.
Um, anything else, my love, before we stop this?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
really think there's anything else to add right now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, and I love you, and I will talk to you very soon.